Imagine a stranger who wore your face, slept in your bed, and fiercely loved your family. This stranger lived for thousands of hours, experiencing a vivid, overwhelming world of sharp colors, strange textures, and towering giants. They laughed, they felt terror, and they learned to navigate an entirely alien universe. And then, they vanished completely, leaving you to inherit their body. That stranger was you. You do not possess a single genuine memory of your earliest days. If you believe you do, it is highly likely a patchwork illusion. Old photographs and family anecdotes seamlessly woven together by your imagination to fill the void. The blank space at the very beginning of our timeline is a universal human condition. We emerge from the dark, completely oblivious to our own beginnings. For generations, the prevailing wisdom was that an infant mind was simply an empty vessel, too fragile and unformed to retain anything. People assumed it was like a camera without film. But modern science has revealed a truth that is far more unsettling and infinitely more fascinating. The camera was rolling the entire time. The film was packed with vibrant footage. But the theater was intentionally burned to the ground. Deep within the intricate architecture of your brain lies a seahorse-shaped curve known as the hippocampus. Think of it as the grand archivist of your existence. It takes the raw, chaotic materials of the present, a sudden storm, a burst of laughter, a scraped knee, and binds them into the permanent history of tomorrow. In a fully formed adult, this archivist works in perfect, synchronized harmony with the outer layers of the brain to carefully catalog every meaningful event. But in the dawn of your life, your brain is not a quiet, organized library. It is a chaotic, deafening construction site. During those initial turnings of the seasons, your mind undergoes an absolute explosion of cellular growth. Fresh neural pathways are forged at a blinding speed. This rapid expansion is absolutely essential. It is exactly how you mastered the gravity-defying act of walking, how you decoded the subtle emotional expressions of your caregivers, and how you learned to survive in a heavy, noisy world. However, this magnificent, relentless growth comes with a devastating biological toll. Every time a fresh pathway is aggressively carved out, it physically shatters and overwrites the delicate, older connections that came before it. The very act of building the brilliant, complex mind you have right now required the violent dismantling of the memories you formed back then. Your earliest experiences were not misplaced or forgotten due to weakness. They were actively bulldozed to make room for the consciousness you were destined to develop. You lost your past because your brain was entirely consumed with the monumental task of securing your future. But the erasure of your early history goes even deeper than cellular demolition. To possess what we call an autobiographical memory, the ability to close your eyes, rewind time, and watch a scene from your past unfold, you require a protagonist. You need a centralized ego. You need an I. When a very young infant peers into a mirror, they do not see themselves. They see a fascinating playmate, a completely separate entity waving and smiling back at them. It takes many months of profound cognitive maturation before the ultimate awakening occurs. That sudden, quiet realization that the reflection is their own face. Before that monumental shift in consciousness, experiences simply happen. There is the sharp sting of cold, the overwhelming comfort of a warm embrace, the startling crash of a dropped toy. But there is no narrator present to claim those events. How can a permanent story be archived if the main character does not yet know they exist? You cannot remember being that infant because, in the truest psychological sense, the version of you that perceives the world today was not there yet. Then comes the final, missing cornerstone of human memory: spoken language. Before you mastered the art of speech, your universe was a rushing, chaotic river of raw, unfiltered sensory data. You felt the rough texture of a carpet, heard the deep, rhythmic resonance of a thunderstorm, and tasted the startling sweetness of crushed fruit. But without words to bind them, these vibrant impressions had no anchor. Language provides the essential scaffolding for memory. It acts as the structural blueprint that organizes chaos into order. When a caregiver begins to weave narratives out of daily life, asking about a passing dog, or recounting a trip to the garden, they are actively teaching the child how to build a container for a fleeting moment. Words transform ethereal, abstract feelings into solid, categorizable concepts that can be safely filed away and retrieved years later. Without a vocabulary to define your reality, your earliest moments were like trying to catch a downpour in a woven basket. The water was felt intensely in the present moment, but it immediately slipped through the cracks. We know this is true because societies steeped in rich, deeply personal storytelling and constant oral traditions tend to draw out lasting memories much earlier in a child's life than cultures that focus less on individual narratives. The very language you learned dictated the shape of your history. So, look back at those fading, glossy photographs of the tiny, wide-eyed creature that eventually became you. The absolute absence of their memory is not a failure of a weak mind. It is a stunning testament to its brilliant, relentless drive to survive and adapt. That little stranger did not disappear into a meaningless void. They gave up their mental architecture, dismantled their own fleeting experiences, and sacrificed their personal narrative so that a new mind could be built in its place. They gave up their story, entirely and completely, so that you could finally begin yours.